Alright, welcome back to the Coffee Cocktail channel everyone. I'm Dan Fellows, and as you may know, this week is Negroni week. So happy Negroni week. This week I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favourite Negroni-inspired cocktails, all of which contain coffee of course, and we're going to be starting with the Espresso Negroni Two-Ways. So let's make some coffee cocktails. Alright, so what are we doing today? Essentially we're making two espresso Negronis, which pretty much are a mashup of an espresso martini with the flavours of a Negroni, and we're going to be delivering them in two different ways. Same specs, very, very different textures. So I'm going to be building one in a shaking tin and the other one in a mixing glass, and we're starting with 40 grams of good quality espresso. So this is made with a white honey Costa Rican coffee. Super sweet, we've got kind of raspberry flavours in there, which ties in nicely with the red ingredients in the Negroni. So this is poured with 20 grams of coffee for a 40 gram yield. You could do this with super strong filter coffee, but you wouldn't really get the same texture. So if you can, I always recommend espresso for this drink. Next up, we're going for the gin. So we're going to get equal parts of our gin, sweet vermouth and Campari, which are fundamental to any Negroni. And I'm going with Colwith Farm Distillery gin because it's very juniper forward, really intense with that kind of juniper flavour, but also really good body, which stands up to the espresso. And espresso and gin are a particularly tricky combination, and this works really well with this particular espresso, with those kind of red fruit sweet notes, kind of esters in there. Super delicious. Next up, our sweet vermouth. I'm going for Coffee di Storico, which is one of my personal favourites. Again, good body, good sweetness, but super complex, kind of floral and herbal notes, which are going to tie into one of my favourite ingredients later, which I'll talk about very shortly. 20 grams per drink. Campari, which is fundamental to any Negroni, 20 mils again. But if you prefer your Negronis a little bit less bitter and that kind of bittersweet note from the Campari, you can step down to Aperol, which is a similar sort of flavour profile, but not quite as bitter, a little bit more sweetness, a bit more kind of citrus coming through. So pick your poison, whatever you fancy. I'm going with Campari. And then we're going to now deviate from the classic Negroni. First of all, by adding some citrus. So 15 mils of freshly squeezed lime juice. And this just brings a bit of balance to those sweeter ingredients. Again, I don't really often use espresso and fresh citrus, but I'm breaking all my own rules today, and it's definitely worth it. So trust me on that. And then to balance the lime, we're going 10 mils of a rosemary syrup. So rosemary might well be my favourite accompaniment to a Negroni flavour profile, or maybe maybe three, which we'll explore in the next few videos, maybe four. But the rosemary, the kind of herbal note, just bridges everything, ties in with those kind of raspberry notes from the coffee, ties in with the herbal notes in the vermouth, ties in with the kind of bittersweet Campari, grapefruit, rosemary, all super delicious, and then the kind of citric notes in the gin. And this brings balance, brings sweetness, just to balance out that really nice lime juice. So the rosemary syrup is made by adding 10 grams of fresh rosemary, which I picked from just up the road, to 100 grams of golden castor sugar and 100 grams of boiling water into a small pan. I don't often make my syrups in a pan or on the heat because I don't like to add the heat and reduce it at all. But this I'm just going to bring to a low temperature, fully dissolve the sugar, let the whole thing cool, and then pass it through a sieve or a filter. Next up, we're going to bridge everything together with our saline solution, which you'll be used to by now if you watch the channel. And I'm going for 1.2 grams per drink because we have around about 120 grams of liquid in each drink. And I like to add this at a 1 to 100 ratio. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the drinks won't be salty. They'll just be harmonized together, just like a good dish, perfectly seasoned, shouldn't be salty, should be delicious. And that's what I think these are going to be. So now both of these are finished, I'm going to put these to one side. The tin, I'm actually going to leave over here so I don't knock over. The mixing glass, we're going to do something slightly different to. So over here, if you've seen my channel before, you'll know how much I love to use milk to milk wash spirits, to clarify drinks. And this isn't going to be clarified because it keeps all of its colour. It just brings the kind of murkiness out and really reduces the texture, allowing the kind of Negroni flavours to shine through. So in here, I've got 20 grams of whole milk. You can also use alternative milk for this. You're going to pour the liquid in there. It'll immediately curdle. And then we want to pass this, first of all, through a paper filter, just to get it started. So add maybe a third of the liquid, have a look at it until it runs clear. When this is running clear, pass this back through with the whole of the liquid, passing it through twice. And you can scale this recipe up or down. I've made actually a quadruple batch, and you're left with this beautiful, stripped out, way less thick, less kind of creamy when shaken, espresso Negroni. So this is 4 times as much as before. It's going to take probably a day to strain through the paper filter twice, allowing that first bit to clear up, putting the whole thing through again and again, and then we're going to shake both. So I'll show you the difference in textures. So we've got the original spec on my left, your right, and then we have, let's say, the milk washed spec on the right. Add in around about 130 mils to each shaker to get a similar sized drink. And now you want to give both of them a really, really good shake with ice. Let's shake. So I'm going to fine strain both of these. That wasn't very easy to set up. But it does look cool, arguably. And you can see the milk washed one doesn't quite have the same texture as the espresso martini style, but it does have that really nice foam from the milk washing. And then to garnish, I'm going to grab an orange. I'm going to burn the orange zest over both, just to get that really nice citrus, which we're kind of missing from the other ingredients. So this feels like overkill, but it'll do. Ooh. So rim the glass with that, reserve this. Gonna do our milk washed version. And then I'm gonna keep this on. And one of my favorite aromas in the world is burnt rosemary. So this obviously isn't smell-o-vision, but I wish it was. Just brings out such a different aroma from the rosemary. I love it. This is also good with food, obviously. Just brings out that really intense rosemary aroma and some of the caramelization. Very complex, it really fills the room. Then garnish with our little peg. Why not? Oh, take 2. With our little peg, burnt rosemary, orange zest. It's going to make a little incision into to sit on the edge of the glass. And there we have the Espresso Negroni Two-Ways. So, happy Negroni week. I'm going to try the more refined version first, which has been kind of stripped out by the milk washing. Still got the really nice foamy texture, which I love. Very, very good aroma. This is more Negroni-ish, to be honest. You get the gin super clearly coming through, all of the kind of Negroni ingredients coming through, less espresso, still present, but not super intense. It's got the nice creamy texture from the head, lime, clearly there, rosemary, very clear, but not overpowering. It's kind of herbal and sweet and light, super delicious. And then the big boy, the more traditional espresso Negroni. Much more powerful, much more espresso martini-esque in terms of texture. Really delicious, much more coffee heavy, but I can't decide which I prefer. Got more of the freshness in here, more of the coffee in here. I'd say make them both. So I recommend you give these a good go at home. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, I would be very pleased if you did so. So if you could click here, that's all you need to do so. It makes a real big difference. And if you want to see more Negroni inspired videos, I'll link them here for you to watch at your leisure. So I'll be back later in Negroni week, but in the meantime, cheers. They're so different. Ooh.